Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have Forrest Flagger and Zach Mix. They got pretty cool names, actually. Forrest is the CEO and co-founder of Parspec, and Zach is in charge of business development. What is Parspec? Well, they're a technology company. They use AI to serve the supply chain, so they're making magical things happen in the background. They want to simplify the procurement process in construction, building materials, and stuff like that. Surprise, surprise, they're headquartered in San Francisco. A unique team of technologists and construction industry veterans. So they brought a bunch of people together to make this thing, and their passion is for the built environment, much like us, although we're focused on lighting. That empowers their customers in the construction industry to build and infrastructure and to build the infrastructure that our economy depends on efficiently. That's right. So they're trying to lower costs. Construction costs are going through the roof. So maybe we need these guys right now. But before we go there, Greg, we got to keep it easy here for a little minute, just a minute or two, and we go to KeystoneTech.com. That's right, KeystoneTech.com. Keep it easy with the easy folks, Greg.
That's right. One of the most difficult applications, at least from what we do every day, trying to retrofit lighting, are downlights, recessed can lights, whatever, pot lights,
Yeah.
what you call them up in Canada. Keystone finally came out with a downlight for just about every application. They have wafers, trims, disc, downlight, for the 10-inch. Many are color selectable, power selectable, interchangeable trim rings. They even have emergency backup, which I've seen a lot of complete lines that don't have the emergency. And Keystone driver. Everything is built with a Keystone driver. Easy.
You know why it's light made easy? Whenever Keystone comes out with something, they always keep it easy, but they do it right, Greg. That's why we love them. Go to KeystoneTech.com. I do every day. So does Greg. That's KeystoneTech.com. And of course, they are proud members of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, just like Greg and I are. That's right, NAILD.org. Greg, we're getting together, man, in September. It's back. ArcLight
It's
Summit,
back. We're
13th
ready.
to 16th, man. That's right. We're joining up with the ArcLight Summit down in Dallas. Register online at nailed.org. But for right now, oh, you know what? Take LS Evolve too, suckers. That's right. You get your people in LS Evolve. All my people are in LS Evolve. All Greg's people are in LS Evolve because they're staying up to date with what's going on. But you have to take LS1 first. Long story. Call the Nailed office. For right now, we got Forrest and we got Zach. What's up, guys?
How you doing? Thanks for having us.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Super excited to be on the show. I'm a big fan and I love what you guys do and I look forward to exploring Parspec today with you guys.
Hey,
Awesome.
Scott, can you just turn up Zach a little bit there, just so later on the show, just watch his volume. Greg, I'm going to throw it over to you to start it off here.
Yeah, so I was researching your site a little bit and found out a little bit more about you, but you guys are going to dive into it more. But you say submittal in seconds as compared to hours. Tell me, but what is a submittal process? I don't, given what we do, selling lighting, I'm never doing new construction, so I don't know much about the new or the submittal process. Tell us what that process like and why you're saving time.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So typically, once a quote has been turned into effectively a purchase order, the go forward has been placed. You need to actually aggregate all of the product documentation, the data sheets from the number of manufacturers from that bill of materials that's being procured. So essentially, what needs to happen is you have to, number one, enter all the information into some type of submittal platform. A lot of people use Excel to build a list. So there's a lot of data entry. Number two, you actually have to go and find product documentation, so specification sheets from many different manufacturers. A typical submittal might have 5 to 20 different manufacturers specified. And so it takes a lot of time to go visit those manufacturer websites to find where they're hosting each specific data sheet. And then users are simply downloading each data sheet manually to their computer, and then they're stitching them together in some type of PDF viewer typically. And then once they have all the data sheets organized into a PDF viewer, they go through and make their markup on those data sheets to highlight the specifications that a designer has chosen or someone throughout the entire chain has specified. And once that document is put together, they then pass it off to the contractor. So a distributor, a rep might send it off to the contractor for review to verify. All right, these are the products that have been specified. These are the products that I'm installing. So everybody is on the same page. But it's a very, very manual process. It takes hours typically. A lot of people that we speak to are compiling submittals after hours, late at night, when they could be doing a number of other things. And if they're doing it during their work hours, it's taking them away from, proactive selling, creative problem solving, working with their colleagues to, enhance their businesses.
Forrest, I'm not so sure the people that are doing this want to change their processes. I think a lot of those processes are meant to be complicated and to forestall or prevent others from engaging in that business. So
Mhm.
how are you guys over? Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Like the spec model is designed to prevent people from being able to come in and lower the prices on the products. And I know it's not always done that way, but there's a large portion of these projects where they're protecting certain, interests in terms of who's going to be allowed to bid the spec. So the simplification process would lower the price, right? That's if you simplify, if you make things easier, if you reduce complexity, you lower cost, right? But I think complexity is inherently been built in by these folks. So why would they want to switch?
Yeah, I mean, our typical customers are either lighting agents and distributors, right, who are making really a commission off of that sale of products. And so we're not proposing any changes to the commission, but rather just reducing the cost to the author of the submittal, right? We're taking the same input. They usually start with a quote or a schedule of the lighting products, and they're producing the same output, the PDF documentation of the submittal. So we're consciously not trying to radically change the process, make it easier for our customer, the rep or distributor, to complete their work more quickly.
So your clients are wanting this. So your clients, you're saying, are lighting agents. So from my perspective, if you're a lighting agent, they're going to want to protect that spec. And I'm not saying that this practice is wrong or right, but what I'm saying is that
Mhm.
often they oftentimes these folks have worked on this for 2 years, and so they don't want people swooping back in at the last minute and cut. And they also work on a commission from the sale of the product. So they've done all that work
Mhm.
for free for 2 years to specify the product. And now you guys are making it easier for competitors to come in and quote the thing at the end or a value engineer it at the end. Have you encountered that problem at all, or has anything like that come up?
I think that's a great point that you're making, and it has come up. There are some heavy hitter manufacturer rep agents in the marketplace that would prefer to keep things as under wraps as possible, so to speak. But at the same time, there are many smaller rep agents that are just trying to get at bats. They're trying to get creative with their specifications. They're trying to view engineer projects. They're trying to find ways to be more price competitive, to sell uh, more efficient or products that last longer. So you get both sides of it. And then at the same time, there are many distributors as well that are putting together submittal packages too. So I want to make sure we don't forget that there's national accounts distributors, there's independent distributors, just like the businesses that you run, that do need to put submittals together at times for particular construction projects. Um, and you know, it's a way for the smaller guys to compete with the bigger
Hmm.
guys, so to speak. So to answer your question, it can go both ways. You can run up to some resistance where people want to protect that information, and then you see, nimble companies that see this as a power tool where they can, get more information about any given project and build a more intelligent sales force.
Okay, so Forrest, if somebody is a user of this software, like a distributor, an agent, a specifier, how are they going to describe to me how or I would benefit from this by subscribing to this software?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So typically, as Zach mentioned, a rep or distributor would start the process with a lighting quote or a schedule in Excel of the list of products. And they would have to transcribe that information out of a document into their submittal tool. So Parspec leverages technology known as optical character recognition, which is able to read text information out of an image to be able to bring that into the document so that the user doesn't have to transcribe any of that documentation manually. We also use computer vision to be able to intelligently read information out of any table. As you know, designers or contractors can structure their information in many different formats in terms of how the product information is represented. So we do that automatically for the user. So they just have a working schedule in Parspec to begin the process. And the second is finding the data sheets. So Parspec has a web crawler that indexes over 1,000 lighting manufacturers daily. And so based on any model number, we're able to find the current data sheet for that customer automatically. So they don't have to visit any of the sites to locate that information. And the final step is the markup. They have to annotate with the configuration that they're planning to purchase. So we have some computer vision that enables them to automatically mark up the PDF submittals for each data sheet. The net of that is that they save, about 80% of the time that it would take them to make a submittal using the traditional process.
Now, I've seen some of these submittals in the past that have been printed out, with a 3-ring binder, everything put together, and the spec sheets or the data sheets had highlighted or circled or whatever the exact item is. You guys are, your software is capable of doing that highlighting part too, or is it just getting to the fixture and then you still got to go through and manually do that?
So what it does right now is it suggests the highlights that it believes the user will want to enter. And it's able to do that by parsing the information in the model number and finding the corresponding segments for different attributes in the data sheet. So we're finding that's pretty accurate. Most of the time, the users are going with the recommendations. And it'll only get better in time because, of course, after a user does it once for a given model number, we'll be able to automatically suggest that markup again for future users.
And I assume they're able to
it does
easily,
assist with the annotation.
and they're able to easily edit. Like if you highlighted the wrong little part, they can click and do something on themselves.
Yeah, you
absolutely.
can click on any
all the normal-
annotation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can use shortcuts as you can, Control Z to undo things, delete things super rapidly. And we remember and save all of those annotations. And as Forrest mentioned, Parspec, it remembers users, selections. So if you've gone through and you've made a specific markup to a data sheet corresponding to an exact part number, our system will remember that for the next time around for that user and then anybody else within the company that has an account with Parspec. So it's also a way to knowledge share, which in a lot of cases in companies, it's really hard to do that, especially in remote settings. You've got decentralized workforces all over the place, and you need them to be completely aligned. And so Parspec acts as a way for companies and the users of those companies to consistently create submittals and know exactly what their team members are working on, what they've done before, to just create efficiencies across the board.
And right now, are you guys only focused on light fixtures, or are you looking at other parts of construction?
So right now we're focused just on lighting products with plans to expand to electrical products in Q2 of this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
we decided to focus. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go for it, Zach.
I was going to say, yeah, we decided to focus on lighting products because, it includes a super wide array of categories, design specifications for a very wide range of applications, as you know. There's thousands of manufacturers ranging from the decorative products to the white goods companies. Products are changing at an extremely rapid rate. With the emergence of LEDs over a decade ago, there's been continuous changes. You have manufacturers that are updating any given product less than a year cycle, right? So there's constantly new data sheets. There's constantly new innovative products hitting the market. And it's really difficult for the sellers to keep up with those changes. And so if we can extract product information from design schedules and surface those data sheets to users more rapidly than before, we're helping educate the market in a way.
I think there's a little bit of software fatigue out there. Um, I got a smile from Forrest there because I think he knows what I'm talking about. I hired a guy recently, well, not about a year ago, and he worked for some major companies. And one of these companies had been subscribing to 108 different types of software. Okay, they had subscriptions and custom built 108 different ways to do things for customers, and it was none of them were integrated with one another. How are you handling the just another subscription? It's another license. It's another fee per month. How are you guys overcoming that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We did. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we chose to focus on the submittal process first. Is that already companies tend to use a third-party application, something different than their ERP system, to make submittals. And so already we're having kind of point solutions there where people are using another tool to create a submittal. So we've tried to improve that process for our users by integrating with a lot of the common systems that are used for quoting, for example. So we integrate seamlessly with Epicor or Oasis or some of the other common ERP systems, so that all you have to do is, take your quote, drag it into Parspec. You have all the information there automatically, and then you can push the information back into that ERP system to continue the workflow. So we definitely recognize that pain point for the users, and our intent is to make that easier compared to the solutions that they're using today just for the submittal process.
So
In
you're
the
saying
future,
that,
we hope to, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I interrupt. I say that you have to be careful with that echo. I don't know if you can hear it in the background. So so you take your quote, you're in whatever ERP system that's common. You guys have created an API or some sort of way to get into that software, get information or middleware or whatever you want to call it, to get information across to the other side. Once that information comes across and is in your system, you then have access to many manufacturer spec sheets out there. That's what you're saying, in their data. And you're able to create these packages, these submittal packages, just by dragging and dropping a quote.
Correct. So the way that we get the information in the system is those systems have a certain file format for the way they
Mm-hmm.
represent quotes, which we read in automatically, right? So including the quantity, the type, the manufacturer, and the model number. So that's how we get the information in. And then correct, when it's in Parspec, they're able to quickly find the data sheets and do the annotations. And then we can push that information back into those same tools if they want to, say, do POs or track information if necessary. If, for example, the schedule originated outside of their ERP system.
It's interesting. I have a conceptual thought, and Greg, maybe I don't even know if I'm asking you or Zach and Forrest here, but when you look at the digital landscape, Facebook, Uber, Twitter, or whatever, I mean, I don't mean to be crude or to be mean to these people, but Uber is not that complicated an idea. Like, it's a pretty simple idea. They mashed up Google Maps with a software that showed the cars on the screen or whatever they did, and they pay people. Like, it's actually not that complicated. Web 3.5 or whatever this version of the internet is or whatever is really like what you guys are doing is making kind of like a WordPress plugin for lighting people. You know what I'm saying? Is that like a good way to put it? It's like you plug Parspec into Epicor, and now you have a something that simplifies your submittals. Like, that's kind of the next phase, is these more complicated areas of electrical, plumbing, mechanical, these areas that are not penetrated very well by digital technology, simply because it's not that easy. You need a combination of software developers and industry knowledge together. You don't need that to make Uber. You don't need that to make Skip the Dishes. You don't need that to make EnvyBook or whatever they call it now. Meta. I call it EnvyBook. Or Shitter, whatever they call that sewer now. But I mean, these things are not that complicated ideas. Like, Facebook's not that complicated an idea. You know what I'm saying? It's like they just made it up. Nobody needed any specialized knowledge. You guys need a combination of software development. I don't know if it's Angular or React or SQL, blah, blah, all those Nintendo, Sega Genesis languages are out there. But you guys need to combine that with industry knowledge. who is the industry knowledge that you guys have in your group?
Yeah, that's
So
a great
I'll
question.
take that one.
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Go ahead. Well, so I actually have a history in the lighting industry. I've been working in the lighting industry for the past decade. I've worked for companies like WattStopper, Green Creative. I worked for a local rep agency here in the Bay Area called ElectroRep. So my knowledge is all coming from lighting, electrical, and energy industry. That's my passion. And I was lucky enough to meet Forrest, who comes to Parspec with a construction tech background, and the co-CEO is a software engineer. So if you sort of look at Parspec, and Forrest has said this before, from a Venn diagram perspective, you have somebody with an expertise in lighting, somebody with an expertise in construction tech, and somebody with an expertise in software technology. And you sort of merge those together, and we come up with a very specific solution for lighting companies to start off. So we are hyper focused on the lighting industry and applying our software specifically for the people within the lighting industry. And Forrest might want to elaborate on that point.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Yeah, I mean, I think when you start thinking about technologies that are changing other industries, like artificial intelligence, high levels of automation, the people that have those skill sets to implement that solution typically don't have, as you mentioned, the domain knowledge to really understand these industry-specific workflows of how a submittal is made, right? I mean, even people that may not be directly connected in this industry may not know those details, and so I think that's where there's a real opportunity, right? Is to bring some of that technology and apply that to these workflows, which haven't had the benefit of that. Which it's changing other industries. It just hasn't gotten to the construction supply chain because of what you mentioned, right? The people that have that expertise often don't understand these workflows intimately, and so we're trying to put together a team here that has both of those skill sets to be able to build this software.
What
And
I've noticed.
I just want to take a second. Oh,
yep, you don't
yeah,
keep
just
going,
want to take
Zach.
a second and spin it. It's not really about me or us. Coming from the lighting industry and working with distributors, manufacturer rep agents, working for a manufacturer, working with specifiers. This is a problem that I've experienced, that colleagues have experienced, that partners have experienced. So I personally I take it very personally, and this is a problem that's pretty close to me, and I'm super excited by Parspec and having this opportunity because I feel like we can deliver a lot of value to those people. They're people that we all care about. They're people that make this industry go and move forward. And we want to help them save as much time as possible. And time, equals dollar savings. And over a long period of time, that really adds up. And that helps people improve their life, whether it be through their professional life or their personal life, having a better work-life balance, working on projects that they haven't got to professionally. Our goal is to create a wedge so those people can be a little bit more active on the things that they're good at. Let computers and machines take over some of the lower value tasks that are boring and really tough to do, and let the people shine. Developing new relationships, calling on a new contractor, working with a new lighting designer, architect, or engineer. Those are the things that humans strive to do, and that's what we're trying to help in this industry.
Zach just switched to dad mode, like it says in his profile here. I love it, man. I love your passion. That's great. That's great. But let's get back to the brass tacks here. Here's what I think that's important to software. Okay, Forrest. Like I love what you said, Zach. But those are like the promises, right? That we hear about when it comes to software, right? Like I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, so but let me ask you this, Forrest. When what I know about these types of software is that the user that you want should immediately know how to use it. As soon as they drag and drop that quote over there, they should be like, wow, this is what I've been waiting for 15 years. What is your, and I want you to tell me about that user experience. Tell me about some of the things that you've overcome and how you're getting to that spot where the person can say, you know what, this is great. I started using it on the first day. I took the 10-minute training session or whatever it was, and I really like it right away. Or are you working towards that?
No, I mean, the funny thing is, I was doing this sort of part-time with my co-founder, Pertush, before I joined Parspec, and we started showing it to users in March of this past year. And, when I made the decision to jump full-time into this business, it was precisely that reaction. We were demoing it to a customer who had never seen it before. They had a really complicated schedule, and we just showed how we could bring that in seconds. And just watching the look on the 5 or 6 people that were on the call, their face, just being like, "Whoa, this is totally different technology." Like that's what led me to believe, hey, there's a real opportunity here, right? We've since seen that on a lot of people. We have 12 companies currently using the tool, the private beta, and I think that's what sells the software the most is just having them get in and use it for themselves. That's why we want to offer a free trial to any user that wants to get in there. They should be able to just log in and see how it works for them. It's meant to be something that doesn't require any training. They should be able to just
Hmm.
log into the system, go through the tutorial, and be ready to go. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it was definitely a seminal moment for me in realizing that we had something special. Just seeing initial users' reaction to the software.
Greg, I want to ask a couple more questions. Are you ready? Are you hot to come in here?
Nope, you keep going.
Okay. So, do you guys do you have investors, or are you guys profitable now? Are you making money? Or is it still sort of in that early stage where you're spending all the money on development, or you have seed investors that have invested in you with you guys, you don't make any money yet, but you're looking for industry dominance down the road? Like what is the financial setup of the company? And obviously you don't have to tell me anything, but are you making money? That's what my first question would be.
No, we're pre-revenue, right? So we haven't yet publicly launched the app. That's coming up at the end of this month, so it's imminent. We do investors, so we raised a seed round from a couple of venture firms in August of last year, and so those two firms are Innovation Endeavors, who's a Silicon Valley deep tech company, and then the second is Heartland. Heartland's business model is to bring Silicon Valley or high tech to the Midwest. So a lot of their partners or investors are distributors and other brick and mortar businesses across the Midwest. So they're providing some access to some of their LPs, and they're going to become customers of Parspec. So that's our current state in terms of investment.
Okay, let me ask you one more question that I have written down on my list here. Okay, so people talk about artificial intelligence. I think that's the wrong word. I think it's either intelligent or it's not. It's not artificial. If it's actually intelligent, it's just intelligence. So maybe electric intelligence. Like there's no artificial light. People say artificial light. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as artificial light. It's either illuminating or it's not. So it's electric light and natural light, whatever you want to call it, right? And machine learning. That's a better description usually for what most people are doing is machine learning.
Mhm.
It's not actually the system's not thinking for itself. It's just being taught to think in certain ways. Is your system actually AI or EI or whatever they want to call it, or is it machine learning?
Yeah, so I agree that sort of phrase gets misused a lot. So technically, artificial intelligence is like an umbrella that includes machine learning and computer vision and other technologies. So we do use a couple of technologies that are sort of known as artificial intelligence. Machine learning is one, and then computer vision is the second. And I can explain briefly how those are actually used. So the computer vision is being able to take like an unstructured image. A data sheet would be an example of that, right? It includes a bunch of information. Say you're interested in all of the product attributes because you want to be able to make sure that a given set of attributes meet a design specification. So we use technology to be able to read that information out of the PDF document and understand which are attributes that are important to characterizing that product. Does that make sense? That's
Yes.
the
What's that
sort
one
of
called again? Not
basic
machine learning.
computer
That's
computer vision.
computer vision. Okay.
Yeah, computer vision is just the idea of being able to recognize that information and structure it. And then the machine learning bit is kind of like what you do with the information once it's structured. Examples of machine learning in our app are we're able to read a lot of different table formats and understand what the information in those tables mean. So, for example, what represents a manufacturer name, what represents a model number, what represents a quantity or a type. We're able to understand that by understanding the broader document. So that's one example of machine learning. Another piece which we're pretty excited about is the idea of helping with like recommending alternates or crossing a product for value engineering. I think everyone on this call would recognize that that's really time consuming, right? You've got to read through the specification. If you're not representing that manufacturer, you need another alternative. You have to find another product from your line card or from the manufacturers that you represent that meets the specification.
How are you doing that?
So we're able to parse the information out of the design spec, so we understand what's required, right? And then we're able to match that with attributes corresponding to say a rep's line card, right? So we can identify all the products that are compliant with a given design specification. So I want to be clear that that's not done yet. That's an active R&D project for Parspec, but it's not part of the submittal solution. But we envision developing a quoting solution in the next 6 months, and it will become part of that solution. So the idea is that we make it really easy for our customers to suggest alternate products to enable them to quote many more jobs than they might otherwise be able to if they were doing that manually.
So the computer vision is like a screen scrape that looks at the screen, grabs the information, and then puts it into a database that you can then structure and interact with meaningfully. And then the machine learning is taking that and combining it into ways in which someone can then deploy that information. Do I have it correctly? So the computer vision happens first, and then machine learning happens second?
Correct. Yeah. So you can think of computer vision as structuring the data and putting it into a database that is understandable, right? And then the machine learning is like recognizing patterns in that data to be able to say recommend alternates or understand the structure of a table. So you're exactly right. It's reasoning with the information once the computer vision structures.
This is very difficult to do in lighting. So I do a lot of screen scraping, but then we have to have human eyes go over it and do what you're talking about, which is make the two products comparable products. So that has to be done by a human. I don't know if that's possible to be done through machine learning. I'd be interested to see if you're successful at that, because I've been working on that for a long time personally in my own business here. And the lighting industry is endlessly complex. It just opens up, whereas someone that looks at it can say, yeah, that's a 2x4 panel.
Yeah, I mean,
40K or color selectable or whatever, right? I'd be interesting to see how you guys would the process of automating that.
Yeah, we totally agree that it's a challenging problem, and you're right that like right out of the gate, it won't be a completely automated process. But if you can think that we could serve maybe 5 or 6 alternates that a human could go through and decide the best one, right? So we're getting very close with what could be successful alternates, and then the system will learn from the alternates that the human selects. So over time, it'll work.
You know that the manufacturers are not going to like this, eh? They're going to fight you on this. They're going to make it difficult for you to do this. They're going to the lighting industry itself is designed to embed complexity. That's exactly how the whole thing is structured. I mean, NEMA in the 90s tried to come out with standardizing CFLs, the coding of CFLs, and the industry responded by making it more complex. And so it's going to be interesting to see that you guys are entering into a battlefield with people that don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to know your thoughts, because I think, well, just one thing, Zach, and then feel free to jump in. Like initially, like we're just if say a rep has a given line card of manufacturers, right, and
Mm-hmm.
they get a schedule, and that schedule includes some products that are from manufacturers they don't represent. So all Parspec is enabling is that we can automatically hide the basis of design products that are from manufacturers that don't represent, and we can find suitable alternates from the rep's line card, right? So it's something that the rep would be doing anyway. It would just take them a bit of time to put those alternates together. So I would argue that we're not fundamentally changing like the relationship of the rep and the manufacturer, but we're just making it easier for the rep or the distributor to do their job, right?
Yeah, they don't want you. The manufacturers don't want you to do that, though. That's in the way that I don't know. Greg, do you agree with me on this? Like they don't want you to be able to cross their spec, right? That's exactly the resistance that there is in the industry. Zach's shaking his head. You jump in here, Zach.
Well, no, I agree with you. They don't want their products to be cross or value engineered out of the project. But those are for the reps that have materials specified, right? And coming from working for a manufacturer, I would get schedules all the time where 2 of my products were specified, and there were 20 other lines that were different manufacturers, and maybe of those 20 other lines, 5 of them we could cross with products that we were offering. So I personally saw the value, or I see the value now in having the ability to easily figure out what products we can cross and then suggesting alternatives based on having a better design, slightly better pricing, product that's more available, which is more needed today than ever, or that's compliant with specific code requirements, right? So I see both sides of it as well.
I think what you're working on would be revolutionary. That portion of it, the idea of the helping with the submittals, that's great. That's a good add-on, right? But the ability to, with a click of a mouse, be suggested comparable alternatives that are very similar or identical to the one listed, that would be extremely valuable to reps, distributors, everyone else. So that I think is like people would use that submittal or no submittal. They would use that all the time.
Right.
There's not a single person. Yeah, I apologize for interrupting. There's not a single person that I haven't that I've spoken to that has not brought up the need for alternatives. And you hit the nail on the head. It would be revolutionary for sure. It's a very, very challenging problem to solve. And then one last point I wanted to make is going back to the knowledge sharing topic. If somebody from your company, either of your distributorships, had cross-referenced a specific product, and then you had another employee or colleague working on a different project where that same product was specified, they would actually have access to know that another colleague of theirs used a different product and won that project. So the ability to knowledge share within your organization is super powerful as well.
So here's where it gets even more interesting. So I've been working on this problem myself for 3 years, and have been successful. I've never been able to automate that portion of it that you're talking about, but we need human eyes on it. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that the generations of products move so quickly. So you may have done it with Gen 1, but now we're on Gen 8 or 9 or 10 now in some things. And so it's a constantly evolving situation. But what manufacturers don't realize, and whether that's the highest level luminaire manufacturer or the lowest, just got back from Hong Kong with a container guy, okay? The consumer has no idea which companies are premium and which companies aren't. And so they have no idea which companies have the ability to stamp. Like, Greg, people know Keystone, and the distributors know Keystone, right? But end users have no idea who Keystone is. It's not like the days of Philips, GE, Sylvania, where people actually recognize those brands, like end user customers, electricians, or even electricians. Like, Greg, who is the highest, swankiest name in light fixtures in the United States? Throw it out there. Keystone. But I mean,
sure, let's go Keystone. There isn't one,
right?
Acuity, maybe,
Acuity, but that's not even branded as Acuity when you get it. It's Lithonia or WattStopper. You say WattStopper to someone, they're or they don't know who these people are. So what you're doing is you're gonna commoditize all these. They're not gonna like it. I think if you guys are successful, it's a huge heist.
Yeah. I mean, one comment would be, I think that, our customer is the rep and distributor,
Yeah,
right? That's
sure.
who we're providing value to. And, I think one of the main value adds that they offer is that expertise, right? Around what is the best product to use in that application. And I look at Parspec as just a tech enabler to complement that expertise, right? So we're not pretending that the software will replace that expertise indefinitely, but it will enable, like as Zach mentioned, better knowledge sharing amongst different colleagues in the same company, communication of new products that are available in the market, and the system will learn to try to provide the best recommendations that it can. Ultimately, it'll be the rep or distributor that are choosing what they actually want to put forward. But I see it as a tool that would make these players more competitive in the marketplace, right? Where they're using the latest technology to be able to do their jobs more efficiently and provide a better service to the end customer, right? To the buyer.
Everyone who's misbehaving needs an enabler. So, enabling the lighting industry. I love it. You guys have any, Zach or Forrest, you guys have any final thoughts for the Get a Grip on Lighting listeners out there?
I mean, just a thought would be that we'd love for any of the listeners here that are interested to reach out and give it a try. We know it's something different, but we're trying to make that as easy as possible for users to get into. Doesn't require any training. It's free for the first 30 days. So urge you just to give it a shot and see if it helps you with this part of your workflow, the submittal process. So really appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah, now that Forrest has wrecked all future sponsors of the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, we can close it out. Folks, go to KeystoneTech.com. That's KeystoneTech.com. Greg, Eric, they keep it easy down there.
That's right. They're downlights, wafer trim, disc downlight, 4 to 10 inch, 120, 277 volt, all the color, selectable options, interchangeable trim rings, bronze, nickel, white, all the stuff you need, and emergency capable with a Keystone driver.
You got to go to KeystoneTech.com. That's KeystoneTech.com. That's right. Light made easy, the easy folks. And of course, proud members of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. That's NALD.org. Yeah, we're going to get crazy in September, folks. That's right. Come on down to the Dallas Market Center. That's right. ArcLight Summit, teamed up together. So September 13th to 16th, go to NALD.org to register. Put your people in Alice Evolve. And of course, Forrest Flagger and Zach Mix from Parspec. Go to parspec.io if you want to check them out. Of course, on the getagriponlighting.com website, all their links will be there for their LinkedIn and their company website. And if you made it all the way to the end, sorry for the audio issues in the beginning. I know sometimes we have that, but we figured it out halfway through. And, I love you guys out there. Come on. Thanks for listening.